welcome. This is Susan Lopresti, and you are listening to the Susan Lopresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me today. And I am very excited about today's topic because it's very near and dear to me, as it was a struggle of mine for many years, and I didn't even know that I had it. And so today I'm talking about leaky gut. And basically, what I'm talking about is the leaky gut solution. So let's get right in. The gut, or the gastrointestinal system, is truly a gateway to overall health. The gut microbiome is an ecosystem of organisms that include bacteria, yeast, funguses, viruses, and they're throughout the entire digestive tract. Far beyond just digestive health, the following organ systems are also closely related to gut health. Things like our immune system and our endocrine system, the nervous system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, and also the reproductive system, as well as our skin. They're all areas related to gut. And a few key points to consider: there is 10 times the number of bacteria in our body than our own cells, and the majority of them are found within our digestive system. The gastrointestinal system contains 90% of the body's happy hormone serotonin. And most importantly, approximately 70% of our immune system is housed in our gut. As you can tell, gut health doesn't stop at digestion. The health of our gut affects nearly every system in our body. Leaky gut is a term that refers to the intestinal hyperpermeability and has become an increasingly more common health problem that is seen today. Leaky gut causes major health problems, including autoimmunity, which is exactly what I have now because of leaky gut. And how, though? How does this happen? Well, intestinal hyperpermeability is exactly what it sounds like. The digestive tract is no longer able to ensure that the good stays in and the bad stays out. Instead, the tight junctures, or the proteins that hold the intestinal wall together, become loosened. This leaves sizable gaps for undigested food particles, digestive fluids, and toxins to enter the bloodstream. And the body reacts to these foreign particles in the blood by producing immune antibodies, or pro-inflammatory cells, to fight them off. And this breeds chronic inflammation, food allergies, and various health complications. Of course, there are no signs of improvement until the gut permeability is addressed. Fortunately, we now have a better understanding of the causes, the obstacles, and the treatment methods for leaky gut. So there is a stop to the cycle, and several factors have proved to negatively affect the gut's integrity. The most prominent include the standard American diet, exposure to chemicals, chronic infections, gluten and other grains, food allergies, excessive medications, and poorly managed stress. Let's look at the standard American diet. That was the first one I mentioned, and rightfully known as the SAD diet. It's one of the leading causes of the chronic health issues that we see today. According to a 2009 study conducted by the USDA, 63% of the calories Americans are consuming came from processed foods containing preservatives, refined grains, and added sugars and oils. It is almost as though the general public took it upon themselves to refigure the food pyramid to consist of grain at the base, dairy in the middle, and sugar at the top, when in all honesty, none of these foods have any business being part of our diet at all. You can call it whatever you want. You could call it fruit or frankenfood, food-like substances. fake food, but you most definitely can call most of our food supply real food. When the majority of our diets are packaged meals with paragraph-long ingredient lists and labels that we can't understand, we are not eating real food. A couple of alarming facts that I want to make you aware of. The United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has approved approximately 3,000 different food additives, preservatives, and colorings without adequate research on their safety. The average person ingests over 150 pounds of additives each year. The magnitude that these chemicals are allowed into our lives is incomprehensible. We are becoming more and more aware of the consequences of this fake food lifestyle, and it is simply unacceptable. This is only one factor in the leaky gut epidemic, but definitely a big one. Next, I will be discussing other factors that are responsible for the onset and the progression of leaky gut. Inflammation is a vital immune response and is the body's attempt to defend itself against pathogens, heal from injury, and repair damaged tissue. Chronic inflammation, however, is not beneficial to our bodies in any way at all. In fact, it can worsen the body's ability to recognize foreign invaders, and it puts the body in a state of stress for extended periods of time. This could cause lasting damage, increased food allergies, and eventually autoimmunity. Gluten is the general term for a mix of proteins and many grains such as wheat, barley, and rye. Gluten has found itself in much of our food supply, disguised in packaged foods and featured in most pre-prepared dishes. So it's no surprise that our consumption of gluten has increased immensely and our health is suffering from it. Gluten allergies, sensitivities, and intolerances are becoming increasingly more common, and gluten-free has become a buzzword within the health community, and people are finally beginning to explore how dangerous gluten can be for their health. How dangerous is it, you might ask? Well, gluten makes your gut leaky. Simple as that. Zonulin is a protein that's found in gluten. It increases the permeability of the gut by further opening the spaces between our cells. The antibodies normally released as a result of leaky gut are accompanied by more antibodies created to attack one of the gluten's most prominent building blocks, which is called gliadin. And this leads to more inflammation and more bodily confusion and more health complications. In other words, your body reacts to the consumption of gluten by creating a defense mechanism to fight it off. And once this damage has occurred within the digestive tract, it is then distributed throughout the entire body. Aside from contributing, if not entirely causing leaky gut, gluten increases inflammation, overall digestive distress, and it alters the balance of our microbiome. Our microbiome must be equipped with efficient, healthy bacteria in order to be successful in carrying out its necessary functions. Without the proper balance of bacteria, the following functions are disrupted: digestion, immune response, nutrient absorption, hormone regulation, vitamin production, detoxification, mood management, and many more. Gluten produces both primary and secondary effects. The damage gluten causes that we've talked about so far has mostly been the primary effects: intestinal hyperpermeability or leaky gut, permeability of the blood-brain barrier, the onset of autoimmune disease such as celiac disease, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis, the development of psychological disorders, dysbiosis, which is an abnormal bacterial growth, acute allergic or IgE responses, and a delayed antibody response. While all of these issues are very serious within themselves, they too cause further complications. Next come the secondary effects of gluten. And the secondary effects of gluten exposure include severe nutrient deficiencies, such as iron and vitamin B12, systemic inflammation, leading to organ and tissue breakdown. It may seem a bit redundant that I keep coming back to how your body reacts on gluten, but it is one of the most important pieces of information that you could take from this podcast episode. Gluten is a major component of a leaky gut cycle. It is present in the onset, the maintenance, and the progression of this damaging condition, and it should not be taken lightly. The first step is when gluten's contribution goes unnoticed. At this point, it is likely there are little to no symptoms at all. This is when most people will assume that gluten won't hurt them and therefore they can eat it with no problem. Unfortunately, the lack of apparent symptoms does not mean that gluten doesn't hurt your gut. In fact, it takes exposure over time and the accumulation of damage before leaky gut is even noticeable. For those cutting out gluten before they feel any physical discomfort, they are still treating the underlying issue even if they can't quite feel it yet. The next step is the progression of subclinical problems. This is where leaky gut truly begins to develop. Often, the first thing that you will notice is increased food and environmental allergies. Digestive distress may begin to become more frequent. Unfortunately, it is common for people to still avoid blaming gluten for their discomfort. And a lot of the reason for that, quite honestly, is lack of education or lack of investigation on your part to get to the bottom of some of the symptoms that you may already be experiencing. And the last step is recognizing the problem. However, it is not usually recognizing gluten as the problem, but the acknowledgement of the problem that gluten has caused. For example, if someone is diagnosed with a chronic disease or develops inflammatory changes, most medical doctors will begin treating these conditions rather than examining the origin. And it's a shame that this has to happen so often, as if gluten was recognized as the main problem during the early stages, then a lot of these health issues could be avoided entirely. And that's what happened to me. I kept getting misdiagnosed. And so I was continuing to eat the same foods that I thought were healing for me, and they actually weren't. So gluten, however, is not the only concern when it comes to solving leaky gut. I will also be going over other issues that contribute to this dangerous syndrome in a moment. Much like the additives and the preservatives that flood our food supply, pesticides are also a big part of what's on our plates. There are 3 million tons of pesticides that are used worldwide each year, and more than 16,000 chemicals involved in the production of these pesticides. Studies to ensure their safety on humans has been very limited, whereas some have no documented research at all. And this is really frightening to learn. While we are not entirely sure of their safety on human health, we do recognize strong links between pesticide exposure and nervous system disorders, immune system suppression, reproductive damage, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, type 2 diabetes, obesity, asthma, migraine headaches, and developmental delay in children. The magnitude that pesticides, along with steroids, hormones, antibiotics, and excitotoxins show up in our food supply is truly frightening. And to think it isn't a main component of our leaky gut trend is simply impossible. Medication is severely overprescribed in the current medical model that's used today. Medical programs train doctors to medicate symptoms even when they're unsure of the cause. This, in the short term, has seemed to work because the patients experience temporary relief from their discomfort. But what it isn't taken into account is how these excessive prescriptions have affected our bodies. For example, statin drugs are used to lower cholesterol. They've also been found to lower vitamin D and CoQ10 levels. While it may be lowering cholesterol, it is causing nutrient deficiencies, muscle fatigue, increased blood pressure, and a weakened immune system. Painkillers like ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin contribute to vitamin C and iron deficiencies, leaving one vulnerable to disease and also eroding the mucosal lining of the stomach. Acid reduction medications hinder the digestion of proteins, calcium, and vitamin B12, often causing chronic pain problems. Long-term use of antidepressants, too, significantly impact the gut's motility and causes digestive issues. Lastly, it's important to note that almost all medications are unable to differentiate between the good bacteria in our gut and the illness it is trying to attack. As you can tell, drugs offer a lot of unintended consequences that can affect our health very badly. There are very few situations where drugs should be your solution, such as a life-threatening infection or a surgical situation. Without the immediate emergency needs of medication, it's best to treat the issue than it is to temporarily patch the problem. First line of defense against toxins. Tight junctions. These are small proteins that are responsible for holding the gut cells together. That is what is most directly affected by leaky gut. Gastro-associated lymphoid tissue, which is called GALT for short, GALT. This is the gut's last and most powerful layer of defense. The gut accessory defenses include friendly bacteria. As I mentioned, we have more bacteria in our bodies than we do our own cells. This bacteria can communicate with the GALT, warning it of potential danger. Stomach acid is absolutely essential for the digestion, absorption of nutrients, and defense against infections. If there is any dysfunction throughout the gut's line of defense, these 5 primary barriers need to be evaluated in order to heal and to be properly treated. The first step of healing is ruling out the fundamental causes of leaky gut. It is important to recognize that it's very rarely only one cause, but a combination of several causing the damage. You must first rule out or begin to recognize the following things. Vitamin deficiencies by functional nutritional testing. This can all be done through a functional medicine doctor. Infectious pathogens by blood and GI tract test. Heavy metal toxicity by urine or hair testing. Heavy metal toxicity by urine or hair testing. Gluten sensitivity through HLA-DQ genetic testing. Environmental allergies via skin or blood test. If any of these come back positive, you have your first step of instructions. Address the deficiencies, implement dietary changes, limit exposure to allergens, and consider detoxification methods. Once you have a better understanding of the body's unique needs, you can begin the formal functional medicine protocol that's called the 4Rs. The 4R program is administered to help you heal from digestive distress, reverse gut complications, and rebalance your gastrointestinal microbiome. It is an incredible tool to acknowledge and treat health issues, dysfunctions, imbalances, and personal health needs. It is done in the following order. First, you want to remove. You want to eliminate problem foods, toxins, low-grade infections, and oxidative stress. Then you want to begin to repair. You want to begin reintroducing a clean diet with essential nutrients that your body needs. You want to move on to restore, and that's to repopulate with healthy bacteria to restore the proper balance of your gut flora. And then you want to replace. You want to replace digestive enzymes, antioxidants, and immune-boosting vitamins to promote sustainable and a healthy digestion. I am very enthusiastic about making sure that your individual needs are addressed during this process. And the reason why I'm so enthusiastic about it is because my own gut issues remained undiagnosed for so long, and I remained sick for so long. And it was so easy once I knew what the problem was to begin to turn it around and look and feel the very best that I had in a very long time. So that's my reason for being so invested in this topic. And at this point, you may have already removed things that you know were to be detrimental to your health, such as gluten and known allergies. But you also want to remove much of the chemical burden in your daily life. And this includes pesticides on foods, genetically modified organisms, which are GMOs, unnecessary medications, and unnatural household cleaners, personal care products, health and beauty aids, cosmetics, and all of related products such as those. And I belong to a wonderful wellness company that manufactures here in the U.S., and they ship direct to consumer. So it's manufactured to consumer, non-toxic products. You're eliminating the middleman and you're buying wholesale prices. And these products have served me well for the last 22 years. And if you're interested, I'm happy to share that with you. Once you understand what you should remove from your daily life and you've begun to implement those changes, it's time to begin repairing the damage that has previously been done. This is done by calming chronic inflammation and reintroducing nutritious foods, digestive enzymes, probiotics, essential fiber, vitamins, minerals, and acids. For some people, these steps may mean implementing intermittent fasting, supplementation, or personalized diet plans that cater to their specific health needs. You want to be sure that you consult with your functional medicine practitioner to be sure that you're beginning the most appropriate repair route for your individual needs. Nutrients must be replaced for effective healing. While everyone's needs are highly individualized, here are some common supplements that have been proven to be helpful in the gut healing process. You may want to introduce probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, fiber, collagen, turmeric, and also L-glutamine. These are all wonderful suggestions that you should give a try to if you're having gut issues. However, the main takeaway from this is that you should not rely solely on supplements. They can be used to help during the healing process, but the goal is to be able to sustain wellness with whole foods and a healthy lifestyle and choices that work long-term without the need for piles of pills. The most difficult part of health is maintaining it. Even if you build a strong foundation during the healing process, without the proper diet, lifestyle choices, and stress management long term, you can fall right back into the same gut destroying patterns that you started with. Do your research on the dangers of leaky gut. It is still considered a medical mystery at this point. Many cases go misdiagnosed and in turn not properly treated. Like I said before, that was definitely the case with me. I was going to doctors for a few years and everyone was overlooking celiac disease as an option. It is crucial to work with a doctor who's familiar, and that was my mistake. Work with a doctor who's familiar with this condition, like a functional medicine doctor, and they will perform the appropriate test in order for you to heal effectively and efficiently. Always start with the fundamentals. Honor your body's unique needs and skip the guesswork. I want to thank you so much for attending this episode with me today. And I think you realize from the passion in my voice that gut health truly made all the difference in how I live my life today and how healthy I am today because I made these simple, easy, lifestyle changes that are sustainable long term. And that's what I'm offering for you today. So please, if you have any additional questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I could be reached at susanlopresti.com. You could also go to my website, www.susanlopresti.com. You can sign up for a 30-minute free health assessment with me. We'll get on the phone, we'll talk about your health issues and see if it's something that I could help you with. You're under no obligation at all to continue. It's just a discovery call. I also want to make you aware that I have started to do meditation and Reiki healing sessions on Sunday nights. However, this coming week, I'm doing it on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll put the link in the show notes. You could sign up and register right there. Again, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you believe that someone could benefit from listening to this episode, kindly share it out with your friends and family. I want to get this message to as many people as possible. I believe that being proactive in our health is what is going to help us to maintain good health and vibrancy for many years to come. So share out my episode and get as many people as you can on board with being proactive in achieving good health. As always, thank you. I so appreciate you. And until the next time, bye for now.